starting with Exodus 5 and in verse 2. That's the first reading, and then we're going to go through chapter 10. Exodus 5, verse 2. Pharaoh said, "Who is the Lord, that I should obey him and let Israel go? I do not know the Lord, and I will not let Israel go." That's just the first bit. And then we come to Exodus 10, 21 to 29. Exodus 10, 21. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand towards the sky, so that darkness will spread over Egypt, darkness that can be felt." So Moses stretched out his hand towards the sky, and total darkness covered all of Egypt for 3 days. No one could see anyone else or leave his place for 3 days. Yet all the Israelites had light in the places where they lived. Then Pharaoh summoned Moses and said, "Go, worship the Lord. Even your women and children may go with you. Only leave your flocks and herds behind." But Moses said, "You must allow us to have sacrifices and burnt offerings to present to the Lord our God. Our livestock, too, must go with us. Not a hoof is to be left behind. We have to use some of them in worshipping the Lord our God. And until we get there, we will not know what we are to use to worship the Lord." But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he was not willing to let them go. Pharaoh said to Moses, "Get out of my sight. Make sure you do not appear before me again. The day you see my face, you will die." "Just as you said," Moses replied, "I will never appear before you again." I will never appear before you. About darkness and light. And so now we'll do this sermon, and you think about it. It's all about darkness and light. Darkness that could be felt. 4 weeks ago, I preached on the second plague that God sent to the Egyptians, which was one more night with the frogs, which you all remember. The plagues continued leading up to the Passover. So now we come to the second to last plague, which was the plague of darkness. A darkness that could be felt. A darkness that could be felt. This sounds scary. There is ordinary darkness, like at night time, that we accept as the sun goes down each evening and comes up each morning, and it is daylight. But darkness that could be felt sounds really scary, especially for 3 days. 3 days of this darkness that could be felt, that people can't see where they are. Do you know, my sister Rosemary used to have nightmares when she was quite small, and I can remember her waking up screaming. And Dad would come in and ask what was the matter, and the matter was, and Rosemary said, there were snakes in the bed. And Dad would switch on the light and show her that there were no snakes in her bed. But she would say, "Yeah, but they all go away when the light is on." Dad tried to tell her that that didn't happen and that there were no snakes as he searched her bed, but she insisted they would come back when the light was off. When I was at school, yes, I really was at school. I really did go to school, yes. I was told that Norway was the land of the midnight sun. That was in the summertime, and the sun would get nearly to the horizon and then start to rise again. So perhaps a few weeks, I'm not sure how many, it would be constant daylight. And then, by the same token, in the winter time, it would be constant darkness for a few days, perhaps a week or two, maybe coming to a sort of twilight and then darkness again. The people that lived there would have to use their electric lights or torches, and those people got used to the darkness as it would happen every year, as well as the midnight sun. But in Egypt, at the time that the plagues took place, which was about this time of year, as we're coming up to Easter, they were coming up to the Passover. They did not have electric lights, and the darkness came upon them suddenly. But at the same time, the Israelites had light in the places where they lived. I suppose it would be during the daytime, not during the ordinary night time. They still needed their sleep. God made a distinction between the Israelites and the Egyptians. Pharaoh summoned Moses and told him that the men, women and children could all go and worship the Lord, but they were to leave their flocks and herds behind. That was so that they wouldn't go too far and they'd come back, obviously. But Moses insisted that they would take all their flocks and herds with them, as they did not know what they would need to sacrifice to the Lord. Pharaoh hardened his heart. Pharaoh hardened his heart. You see, it wasn't just the darkness that could be felt that was the problem. The darkness was in Pharaoh's heart as well. As we read from Exodus 5 verse 2, who is the Lord, that I should obey him and let Israel go? I do not know the Lord, and I will not let Israel go. Are you like Pharaoh and do not know the Lord? That could be the problem. Are you like Pharaoh and do not know the Lord? During some of the previous plagues, Pharaoh said that the Israelites could go, but he hardened his heart when the plague was over. And even his officials told him to let the Israelites go, as the land was ruined by hail and locusts. But Pharaoh hardened his heart. And are you hardening your heart? There was one more plague to come, and that was that all the firstborn sons of the Egyptians would die. When the angel of death would come, that the Israelites would be saved by the blood of the Lamb, that they would put on the door jambs and lintels of their houses. The angel of death would pass over the houses that have the blood on them. Quite some years after this Passover, Isaiah wrote in his book, chapter 9 and verse 2, the people walking in darkness have seen a great light. On those living in the land of deep darkness, a light has dawned. A light has dawned. Did you ever hear that? The man that sat up all night wondering where the sun had gone, and it suddenly dawned on him. Sorry, my sense of humour. uses this same passage in Matthew chapter 4 and verse 16. We shall celebrate communion after the next hymn, as Jesus celebrated at the Last Supper. Jesus came as the light of the world, but people still walk in darkness. Pharaoh hardened his heart and walked in darkness. We have just sung what a wonderful change in my life has been wrought since Jesus came into my heart. Pharaoh needed that change in his heart, but he hardened his heart. He hardened his heart. So are you walking in darkness? In the first chapter of John's Gospel, verses 1 to 12, he talks about light and darkness. Let's see if we can find that. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, but the darkness has not understood it. There came a man who was sent from God. His name was John. He came as a witness to testify concerning that light, so that through him all men might believe. He himself was not the light. He came only as a witness to the light. The true light that gives light to every man was coming into the world. He was in the world, and though the world was made through him, the world did not recognize him. He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him. Yet, to all who received him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. He gave the right to be children of God and walk in light instead of the darkness. It talks about light and darkness, which I shall read. Pharaoh did not know the Lord, and worse, he did not want to. But God showed Pharaoh his power and could have destroyed all the Egyptians by this time. So do you want to know the Lord and turn to Jesus and have your sins forgiven and have your heart changed, as we read in John 1 verse 12, and have a place in heaven? Or are you going to be like Pharaoh and harden your heart and keep on walking in darkness? Oh, I really feel sorry for those that still want to keep on walking in darkness. That one day they would wake up and find themselves in hell when they die, or when Jesus comes again, whichever the first is going to be. Are you walking in darkness? Oh, I feel sorry for those